Hold the screens.
Melody is helping me.
Yes.
I don't think Melody.
No creo que
In
porque...
the cell phone, I just can see one, right?
Pero si empieza a cambiar. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't remember that. Ah, there you go.
You see
Now I see.
Yes.
Excellent. Is everyone there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're just waiting on Audrey, but she might be joining a bit later. So.
Okay. Great.
So this
Can
is.
you all hear me?
Yeah.
Can you all hear me? Yes. I have the fan in the back. So if you hear a plane, it's the fan because it's 34 degrees here. So it's very hot. Okay, let me check. Can I start?
Yeah, let me just introduce you because it's my.
Yes, that's easier.
Johanna,
Thank
she's
you.
director, and she's absolutely amazing. So we're so excited that she gets to share with you today. So she's our mom of the house, and she's absolutely wonderful. So I'm just going to pray for her in this time, and then it's all yours. So, Jesus, we thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for Johanna and just how much she blesses our lives, Jesus. And we just want to thank you for this time. And we just ask that as she shares, Jesus, that you give us your ears to hear everything that she's going to be sharing with us, Jesus. God, we ask that you silence any distractions in our minds and our hearts, that we can just really receive everything that she has to share with us today.
Jesus.
Thank you so much. Holy Spirit, you just come and just be in every. In your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I would like to get to know you just a little bit briefly before I start. First, I would like to say a little bit more about myself. My name is Johanna, as you already know. I'm originally from Argentina. I live in the UK for the last 11 years. As you can see, English is not my first language. I'm Spanish speaking. I come from a Spanish speaking country, and English is my second language. So I got to learn English here in the UK. I still don't have the accent. I just have the nationality, so I'm British, but just by papers, not by my accent. So I grew up in a missionary family. My parents became a Christian through a missionary guy that did his outreach in Argentina many, many years ago during the World Cup. So I'm a fruit of a missionary, an obedient guy that responds to God and his calling. So I'm a fruit of that person, of course, through God. And God brought us here with my husband. We have 2 kids. My husband is from the Caribbean, from Puerto Rico. And we have 2 kids, Himmel and Melody. Himmel is 14 years old and Melody is 11. They grow up here in the UK, in London. So yeah, I'm sure that you will get to know a little bit more of us. I grew up being a dancer. I love arts. I love missions. I love to get to know new people. I love to invest in young people because that's the calling that God gives us. So it is a pleasure to get to be with you, see you. I have to move the screen so I can get to see all of you. Sorry, please take a little bit of time. Yeah. Yes. So of course, this is not the easiest things to do, to speak with you by a screen. And I'm sure that for you it's not easy either. You would like to be all together here in London, not just to get to know each other, but as well to be where God called you to be for this time. So I know the challenge, and let me tell you, for the one that is teaching as well, is a challenge because you don't get to see the faces of what the person is showing through their face or their bodies, or even talking, you know. I really like to to get to see everyone, because that showed me that the person is following me. And so yeah. So the topic that I'm going to share with you today is about discipleship. Such an important topic, at least in my life. It's something that is always very transcendental and so important. So first of all, I would like to talk a little bit about being a disciple versus being a Christian. So we are all Christians, even if you consider yourself a discipler. You are a Christian as well. Sorry if I make any mistake in English. Because I'm thinking as well as I talk. So being a Christian versus being a discipler, this is something that I learned through my youth. I want to give you an example before I continue sharing. I remember when I was 16 years old, my mom said to me, Johanna, everything that I can invest in your life, I already did. And it's time that you can find someone that can invest in your life and disciple you and look after your life. But I didn't have the desire of that, because I didn't want to open my life to someone else that is not part of my, I don't know if it's part of my life, but someone that I really trust. And at that point, the only person that I trusted most was my parents. So my mom sent me, she said, you have to go and talk with this lady. And I didn't want it. So I did it because I wanted to obey my mom, because I didn't do it with my heart. Because it's very hard to become vulnerable in front of someone else. And as well, because I'm an introvert, I didn't knew what to say, because I didn't knew how I was. Deeply inside of me, I was not sure what was happening inside of me, because I still was getting to know myself. So I didn't know, like, she was saying, like, why you are not going to talk to her? And I said, like, I don't know what to say, because I don't know really what is going on inside of me. So I think it's very important that as a Christian, as a discipler, you can get to know yourself. First, it's very important, because the only way to express what is inside your heart is that you can get to know yourself. It's very, very important. Sometimes you will find yourself angry or with bitterness or sad or very content, and you don't know why, And then people ask you, like, what are you sad, or what are you feeling depressed? What brought you there, And you're like, I don't know, So I think it's very important that you can get to know yourself. And of course, I'm still getting to know myself. Sometimes people said to me, Joy, you are very good making things very practical. And I think, like, really, like, I don't know, like sometimes we doubt, even from the things that, the compliment that people give about us, or the things that maybe we don't see in ourselves, So I think it's very important that as you get to know yourself, you allow others as well to tell you or to express with you the way that they see you. So sometimes when I don't know how I am or what is happening, I ask, or like, how do you see me? Or even to my husband, even to my parents, or someone that you trust. To be honest, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Is there anything that you think that is producing this in my life? So I think in this point, it's very important that you can be vulnerable. Because if you're not vulnerable with each other, and as well with the person that you trust, it's very hard to reach our hearts, to go deeper. and as well to find that transformation and that change in our attitude and in the way that we are feeling, or in the way that or in the areas that need to change. So the difference to be a Christian and a discipler, this is something that I found so interesting. I remember asking this to myself, Johanna, are you a Christian or are you a discipler? And in some ways I wanted to be a Christian, and in other ways I wanted to be a disciple. Sorry. And the difference between both is like, you can be a person that believes in God and that go to church, that is a good person, and I'm very good for that. I can be a very good person, never be late, or trying always to please God, never smoke, never do nothing wrong. So I can be a good Christian, and you can be a good Christian as well. Or you can be a discipler. And the difference with one and the other one is, to be a discipler is the one that you follow, is the one that is always like following someone else, the one that is like active, if I can put a picture of someone that is a disciple, is the one that is active, that is admiring the one that is going ahead of you, the one that do a lot of sacrifice, and the one that is dependent, the one that imitate the other person as the other person imitate God. And to be a Christian is more based in my own criteria, in my own judge of what I think is good, and my own will. So it's a very thin line of what it is to be just a believer or be a disciple. I always commit the same mistake, sorry. So it's very important to ask to ourselves, am I a Christian or am I a disciple? Okay, if you can put that question there. In Corinthians 11:1 said, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. So as you follow me, I follow God, and then this is like a change, For example, my disciples they're discipling others, and this is something that is like a baton that you pass on, It's not that I'm better. It's not that I have everything. I'm a human the same as all of you. But you learn from me the things that God put in my life. Normally, that person that is looking after your life maybe have opposite enemies as you do. Maybe it's very different in personality, in the way they are. And if God put them there, it's for a reason. When you see a discipler, is the person that you have to admire, the person that you have to love, the person that you recognize because you love. So the only way that you can recognize a person is, first you have to love that person in the way that the person is. For example, my son, he's the one that is discipling my son. That person is being discipled by my husband. And my son still his defects, but not because of that he doesn't recognize him or he doesn't receive from him, Like, for example, my own disciples, they can see all my mistakes, they can see all my failures, they can see that I'm a human and I have flesh the same as them, but they don't see me with those human eyes, They look to see me with God eyes. They want to see me in the way that God sees me, the things that God plants in my life, the things that that person had from God to give to my own life. And when you recognize that person, when you admire that person, you follow that person and you obey it. And on obedience, when you obey, that obedience cannot be with hesitation, you know, cannot be like, okay, let me think what I think. Okay, what you say is good, but what about, and then we start with questions. And that's sometimes what we do to God. I remember when God called us to the UK, I said to, like, God spoke to my husband to come to the UK, to London. And I said, no, if God spoke to you, he had to talk to me. And I didn't recognize his authority in my life at that moment, you know. I went on top of my husband and I say no, you know. Sometimes we can give a no to God or to our spiritual authority, or we can say, let me see, or we can come with questions of why. And this is something that very often happens to me with my kids. And at the moment, I'm the spiritual authority together with my husband upon my kids. And many times I ask them, can you do this? And they say, why? Or they say, no, but I know another way that is easier. Can I do it that way? And I say, no, you have to do what I'm telling you to do. So sometimes we like to take shortcuts, or we like to do it in the way that we think is better. And in this is very strong our self-justice, you know? We think that we know better. And this can like go against God, you know? Against the authority that God put there for us. So it's very important that God, when God speaks to your life, or when God uses your spiritual authority, if it's your pastor, if it's the one that is discipling you, the one that you recognize, if that person spoke something into your life, don't doubt. So it's very important that you don't doubt, that you don't make questions, that you obey without arguing, you know. And sometimes we don't argue like verbally, sometimes in our mind. Oh, but why? And we start like murmuring, you know. Oh, why this person asked me this, or why I have to do that, or why I have to wait here for so long, you know. And we start arguing in our heads constantly. And I noticed that creates a lot of heaviness, and that creates a lot of unbelief. That, like, sometimes when God doesn't work in your time, for example, you're still not here, and you're like, but why, God? You told me that this was from you, and in my case, it took me 3 years to come to the UK because we had problems with our visas, and I was going to God, and I said, God, you spoke to us. Why we are not still there? Like, what we did wrong? Maybe this is not from God, and I was wrong, or we were wrong. And sometimes in those times, I noticed that are so key, so important, because God get to work in our character, in our patience, in our commitment, and His ways, His times are not our ways. And God is working in things of us, and sometimes we start comparing. But why that person, for example, I remember when I came here, some people in our team, they were Europeans. So they have the European passport, and they never wait to come to the UK. They never fought to be available to do anything. They already spoke English. And I was like, God, why you call me here? I don't have the European nationality. I don't have the language. I don't know anything. I'm going to start from zero. I'm going with my 2 little kids. But when God calls you, sometimes will call you to do things that you are not capable, that you don't have what it takes. So He humbled yourself, and He humbled myself in order to use what He planned in your life. So as less capable you feel, more he will use you, more he will take the most out of your life. But he's looking for people that are willing. Are you willing? Are you willing to follow God? Doesn't matter what. Sometimes I say like, wow, to follow God is so much fun, because it's a bit crazy, yes. And it's a little bit challenge as well. Sometimes you don't know what you have to renounce. Sometimes we want to follow God, but without renouncing, We say, God, I will follow you, but if I have this, and if you do that, and if I get this that I ask you, and God said, he didn't say, if he give you, he said, are you willing to follow me? It's just one question. And you have to answer one answer. Yes or no. It's not if, yes or no. So as I was talking, just to give you a picture of what it is to be a Christian and a follower of Jesus Christ, a disciple. For me, being a Christian is, as I said before, is someone that is good, that walk in integrity, but is not willing to follow God, doesn't matter what, You can be a good Christian, but not a follower. You can be a good believer, but not follower of Christ. You can go to church and be a good person and have your work or whatever you decide to do in life, but without God, You can have the values, but without God. So, or sometimes we use God for our own desires, I feel like God is calling me to do something that I want to do, but it's actually not God, it's what I want, So I had to go to God. Is this really you, God? Is this really from you? And ask someone else, because it's very hard to be wise upon our own life, And in order to allow another person into your life, as I said before, it's very important that you recognize that person, that you admire that person, that you love that person. And that's something that grows. All the disciples that I have, the way that they see me today is totally different than a few years ago, because they get to know me better and love me better, even in my mistakes, even in the things that they see that are my own enemies. They get to love me. And when you love someone, it's like when I love my kids or my husband, I love them because the way they are, with the goods and the bads. And I admire what God planned in their life. And when you are young, when I was your age, I'm 36 now, when I was in my 20s or before, we can be quite demanding, we can be very aggressive, or like we know what is right, what is wrong. Maybe we don't move in that way, but we demand that from others, So it's very important that you can extend grace to receive grace. That you can extend love to receive love. You want to be loved, then love others. You want to receive grace, then give grace. You want to receive patience with your life, then be patient with others. You want other people to be generous with you, then be generous with others. Like everything that you desire in your life, you have to give it away first. Because sometimes we think like, no, the other person have to give it to me first, and then I will give it. No, you want the other person to give you attention, then give attention to the other person. Because sometimes as we start growing in life, we are still thinking as a kid, when my kids, they always look for my attention. I'm always have to provide to them, but they're not checking if I needed something, or if they can help in something, or if, mommy's sad. I can be sad as well, I'm not a robot, you know? But they don't think like this. They think that I'm here to give everything they need, and I'm a superhero, I don't need anything. And we all are in a constant need, you know? So it's very important that when you see that you need something in your life, you don't demand that from your discipler or from other people. But you have to be the first one to give it away, okay? And then you will receive it. Are you following me? Are we in the same page? Great. Okay, so I want to explain the difference between being a mentor or having a mentor and having a discipler, okay? So when you have, I look in the dictionary, the meaning of what it is a mentor. And I'm going to read it for you. A person who gives a younger or less experienced person help and advice over a period of time, especially at work or school. Okay? And the other word is discipler. Is a person who believes in the ideas and principles of someone famous and try to live the way that that person does. So what is the difference for me to have a mentor or a discipler, okay? So for me, a mentor is someone that I look to get tools and learn some things. As the dictionary said, for a short time, is someone that I go with my problems, but it's someone that is there when I need it, you know? A discipler is someone that you walk together. It can be physical or it can be in distance, but it's someone that you recognize, that you admire, and that you want to imitate. Okay? So it's a very thin line from one and the other one. And we have to choose if we want in your life, if you would like to have a mentor, that's the only thing that you need, or you want to have a discipler, someone that you want to imitate, someone that you want to follow, someone that it's not necessarily doing the same thing as you do or in the same place, but it's someone that you recognize authority and that you want to imitate what is God, from God in that person for your life, okay? For me, a mentor is more something that it's like something that I choose to like learn from. But it's not someone put it there from God to for me to imitate and follow as that person follow God. So the mentor is the one that give you tools. It's like someone that can help you in your problem, but it's not going to put input in your life in the things that, for example, when I go to a mentor, I go and say, this is what I need. When I go to my discipler say, hey, Joy, this is not going well. This you have to change. Or I share things on my life, and that person put wisdom in my life, say, why you don't try this? You know, a mentor is just there to like put things, plant things in your life, but no, but it can be even a no Christian person, you know. I had many mentors in my life. For example, I'm a dancer. As a dancer, I had many mentors in my life, and they were not Christian. They didn't have the Holy Spirit. They were not imitating God as I imitate them, you know. Everyone can be a mentor. You can be a mentor when you cook with someone else. So as a mentor, you don't have to be necessarily a follower of Jesus Christ. You don't have to be a believer, you know. Everyone can be a mentor, okay? So it's very important that you can difference one to the other, okay? And all of you can be mentored, and all of you can mentor someone else, even without God, okay? When you disciple someone, you disciple what God planned in your life in someone else. And the idea of that is that that person get better than you or go further than you, okay? When I see the picture of a discipler, I see someone going on top of my shoulders, and I feel that person reach further, you know? You know when you try to cross the fence, so you put that person on your shoulders, and that person will cross the fence, and maybe you stay in the other side. For me, that's a discipler. As more you grow with God, as more you follow someone, like my role as a discipler is to be the shoulders for them to reach even higher, okay? Sometimes people see the other way around, like that my disciple will follow me and will fulfill my dreams and expectations, and it's not like this, okay? Of course, my disciples help me, of course. Of course, my disciple look to imitate me, of course, but the idea is that they get better than me. It's like with your own kids. So the idea of the desire of my heart is that my kid reach even further than I did or that I'm doing, okay? What produced that is love. When you love in a genuine way, with God's love, in your heart is that person is better than you, fulfill more things than you, go further more than you, get to live things that maybe you didn't got the chance to live. And that person get it easier than you, you know? Sometimes I see my disciples and they get things easier than me, you know, faster. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, it took me so much sacrifice to achieve this, and my disciple did it like this, you know? And that's amazing. It's not to feel bad about yourself. You be like, wow, that means that through my life, many things can flourish even further, can go even further. Yeah? Everyone is following me? Yes? Good. Something very important about this, as you grow during your teenager and becoming an adult, it's very common that in school you get taught that you have to become independent of your family, independent of everyone. You have to take your own decisions and make your own ideas of things. And all of this way of thinking is very humanistic. That's not what the Bible says. When you have a relationship with God, you cannot have an independent mentality, okay? When you have a relationship with your husband, with your friends, with your discipler, with God, you cannot have an independent mentality. You cannot try to process everything in your mind and take your own decisions, because it's very important that whatever you have in your mind or your ideas, that you involve others in your thinking, in your decisions. In the multitude of advice is the wisdom. That's what the Bible says. So we cannot be independent. That's not what the Bible teaches. That's not how we should be living, okay, with the Lord. So it's very important that you can be open, like an open book, where everyone can write on, you know? That is not, that you are not just what you think of yourself, that you allow others to invest and write something in your book of life, you know. When someone give you or share something from their heart, say, God, what do you want me to learn from this? Because maybe what he wants to teach you through this is totally different than what God is trying to teach to the person next to you. Because the way that God speaks to our life is very different, or what you need today is very different of the person that is next to you. So it's very important that you can be open and ask God, what you are trying to teach me through this. And if you are not sure, ask your disciple or someone else and say, what do you think that God is trying to teach me through this time? And maybe it's the same thing that you were thinking, but you want someone to confirm that. And God will use someone else as well to bring confirmation. Okay? So it's very important, going again, when you move in an independent way, it's very important relationship, recognition, vulnerability, and trust. Sometimes when someone failed you in the past, the trust get broke. So it's very hard to trust again because doubts come, because you still think that others will be the same that that person that failed you. So it's very important that as you forgive and give it to God and forget and restore your heart and your life, that you can renew your trust. Because that's the only way that you can depend in others and depend in God. That you can trust God. And if you see yourself that for you it's hard to trust people, imagine God, that you don't see him, that you don't know sometimes if he's talking to you. So it's very important that you can examine your heart and see if it's in any area in your life that you are not trusting God enough. Okay? Any question to there? In the meantime, I'm going to read a verse in the Bible, Matthew 4:19-20. Jesus called them out to them, "Come and follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and followed him. So this is what many of you are doing now. Yes, does someone have a question?
Yeah, I do. It's me, Kevin.
1 second, because I can't hear properly. Yes.
Hello. Well, you were saying that discipler, you have to have trust on them, and in the DTS, when you come here, they give you a discipler, but I don't know this person. How can I don't know, just because of their experience or knowledge, wouldn't that be a mentor then, not a discipler? You know what I mean? Like, does it make sense, my question? It's something.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't mind going.
Yeah. Okay, let me explain this. So before you guys come, what we normally do, we pray and ask God, who do we which person do we see this person being discipled? Yeah. So it's not like we pick someone. Oh, that person can be discipled by this person. This is not like that. It's not like putting things together and that's it. No, like we take the time as we read the form, as we do the Skype communication and get to see the person and get to know the person a little bit more. Of course, we don't know everything, but God do. So we put a person to disciple this person, and something that we normally do after the BTS finish, we ask the person, do you think that this is the person that is good for you? And that's a hard question, because sometimes we want someone that maybe is not the best because it's easier. And being easier doesn't mean that it's better, if that makes sense. Okay? So after the school, normally like we decide, and we said, I think actually I needed this person, and I think God put this person in my life, and I want to keep working with this person. Or sometimes I said like, oh, actually, I noticed that I have been spending more time with this person, or I felt like, I don't know, we have a deeper connection with this other person, not because of my enemy, maybe because I see something from God that I want in my life, you know? I remember once we had a guy, and this guy said, I love the guy that is discipling me, but I would like Chris to disciple me, my husband, because I want to have someone harder that can give me harder, so it's very important that you can, because this is a very tricky thing, so it's very important that you can ask God and ask yourself if this is actually what you want to continue having, or if this is the person that you want to follow. Yeah? Perfect. Excellent. One second. Something that I always explain when I talk about discipleship, that this should be our lifestyle, It's very important that we can be teachable and that we can teach others, because sometimes when you have a strong will, or when you have a tendency of thinking that you already know things better, it's very hard to be teachable. So it's very important. Sometimes we are natural leaders, so we like to teach, but we don't like to be teachable. So in order for you to teach, it's very important that you can keep yourself teachable. And this is something that is not for a short time. To be honest, in my personal life, as the year passed by, I feel more vulnerable, that I need more, that I cannot do it alone, that I need others, that I need to keep myself vulnerable, open, and as well teachable. If we are not teachable, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter how much experience you have, doesn't matter how many schools you did, doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, because your knowledge is in your mind. But sometimes not everything gets into your heart, or sometimes not everything shows to others, You can think that you know how to do things, but then you don't do them. Sometimes we are very good to talk about humbleness and what is the meaning of that, but then we don't walk in humbleness. So for that reason, it's very important that you can keep your life being teachable. You can be 70 years old, but it's very important that even at that age, you keep your life and yourself teachable. Yeah? And always humble to receive from others, and as well without comparing, because this is a very thin line, The only way to don't compare with that person or your discipler or the people around you is admiring. That's the opposite. You can compare or you can admire. So it's very important that you can admire each other and ask God what you can learn from that person. And the first thing that will come to your head is the wrong things about that person or about yourself. And if you are insecure like I am, you always think that you are the worst person to do what you do. And then God say, no, but I need you. And he chooses you. So you don't know what he needs from you. And even if you see yourself not capable or not good, he thinks that you are good and you have what it takes. So don't compare with others. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't feel better than others. And as well, don't put limitation to God, okay? Don't, and as well, even something that I always said, don't justify yourself with your culture, with your background, with what you come from, with the history of your life. It's very easy to justify ourselves with the things that we lived before, you know, and we can justify in front of God. Because if you justify yourself, you will never improve. You will never grow. You will never learn from others. You will keep comparing and feeling yourself inferior or superior. You are not, or I'm not, inferior or superior. In front of God, we are all the same. When we die, even if you are rich or poor, or if you are the president, or if you are just a normal worker, we all die in the same way. Something that always like brought to my attention when my brother, my middle brother, he passed away many years ago. I remember seeing him in the box, and he didn't have even his ring, his marriage ring. And that blew my mind, you know? When you die, you don't take anything. You don't take no one with you. You don't take any belongings with you. You go naked the same way that you came to life. So sometimes we put so much value in the things that we have, like material, or we put value or we put our value in people, when the only thing that is worth it is God. The only thing that is worth it to follow is Jesus Christ. Life is very short, and it's very important that we don't lose time, that we involve others in our life, and that we learn how to be a better disciple every day. Yeah. I want to read 3 other verses. John 8:31 and 32. To the Jew who had believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And then 2 Timothy 2:2. You have heard me teach things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now teach this truth to others, trustworthy people who will be available to pass them on to others. Sorry for my English. And then Luke 6:40. A disciple is not greater than his teacher, but everyone, when fully trained, will be like his teacher. Okay. And then I want to read, or maybe you can read a few verses that talk about the cost to follow Christ. So you can read these verses. Luke 9:23, Luke 14:25 to 26, Matthew 10:37, Matthew 10:38, and Luke 14:33. It's very important. We can read this. I don't know. I have half an hour. It's very important that as your young age, you take a decision in front of God and say, God, I don't want to be just a believer. I want to live for you. I want to give you my whole life, not 70%, not 50%. I want to give you my whole life. Everything that I have is yours. Doesn't matter what that takes. Doesn't matter if I have to sacrifice something. Doesn't matter if it's not my will, but your will. Yeah. Are you willing to say that to God? This is something very personal. I can preach to you, I can teach you for hours, but this is a very important decision that sometimes you hear and it sounds good, but not everyone is willing. And God will not call all of us. But if God calls you, the question is, are you willing? Are you willing to leave everything behind? Are you willing to follow Christ? It doesn't matter what. Even if it costs you your life. The first missionaries that came to my country from this country, they took with themselves a coffin, right? And this is real, because they knew that they would never come back. They would never talk with their families. They would never just come for a visit. Are you willing? That's an extreme thing, but I don't know what God is going to ask you. Are you willing to follow Him every time He asks you something? Are you willing to say yes to God without questions, without arguing, without looking to understand? Because many things you will never understand God's heart. When my brother passed away, I asked one question to God, and I said, God, why? And He said to me, Johanna, you will never understand everything. And with that answer, I just keep myself quiet and I said, okay, you know better. So I just have to keep going and accept that, and understand that He's in the best place, and I don't know everything. So even when it gets hard, even when something happens that is unfair, that is not good, or that you don't deserve, okay? Are you willing to keep pushing? Even if everything around you looks not the way that you expect, are you still willing to press on? This is something so important. I have still to ask this question to myself, because sometimes you think, oh, you have to ask this question at the beginning. Now you are set. We are never set. When you find yourself set, God will ask you something else. Don't get too comfortable. When you find yourself comfortable, God will ask something new. Every time that I get a bit comfortable, I know that something is coming. So when that happens, grab yourself from something, because something else is coming. And that will keep stretching your life. And God will keep using you as He invests in your life. Yeah? So as we give, we keep investing, God will keep on investing in your life. Okay? This is how it is. We have to keep investing in our life in order to give. Yeah? You want others to recognize you? Start recognizing others. Yeah? Everything that you desire, everything that you want, you have to be the first one to give it away. As more you demand, more you have to give. As more light you have, more God will demand from you. Sorry. Yeah? So sometimes I say, God, why are you giving me lies in this area? Because that means that you will demand that from me. So sometimes I just prefer to don't know much. As more discernment you have, then you have a responsibility. For example, I see my kids, they have a lot of discernment, but with discernment comes a responsibility. So when you feel that the atmosphere is not good, and what people are doing is not being helpful, sometimes you can start judging the situation, or you can be a response. You can be part of that solution that God can use. So sometimes we have the discernment, but we don't have the wisdom to act. And we need both. Yeah? We talk about vulnerability, and as well, something that I wanted to mention is about self-control. Sometimes we just say everything, and before we say everything that we have in our mind, we have to examine it from where it's coming. You know, if it's coming from a heart of self-justice, if it's coming from a heart that is not in the right place, I have to examine in my heart before saying everything that I have inside, because sometimes something that come out of my mouth are not good, and I don't realize because I don't go to God, or I don't examine in my heart, you know. So sometimes it's important that you can examine in your heart before you put things out. Yeah, that's very important. Yes, something that I as well said, if you don't have a life where you are depending in others and depending in God, you will become a lone ranger. Okay, maybe someone can translate this to the French guy. I don't know if you understand this, the meaning of this. It's someone that is always just by himself, running the horse, and no one can reach that person, and it's not reachable. Yeah. So it's very important that you are a person that are easy to reach and to be reached or reachable, and easy for people to reach you as well. Yeah, that you are available for others. Yeah. Any question? No, I cannot see everyone, so. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to talk is very important. Like we are all from different backgrounds, different cultures, different experience, and something that is very important when you come to the Lord and you take a decision to follow Christ is that you can grab the things that are good from your culture, from your experience, and the things that God done in your life, and you can look to have a kingdom culture. This is something that I always say, because I don't consider myself British or Argentinian or Puerto Rican, American. God, I was born in Argentina because God wanted, but my heart and my culture, or the culture that I adopt, is the kingdom culture. And if you want to reach out people, you have to be flexible. You have to admire other people, other people's culture, other people's background, other people's languages, food, everything. So we have to be very wise how we use our words. Because sometimes we say, for example, oh, in my country, we do this, like this. And I think it's the best, you know. And my culture is the best one because we are more open. In Argentina, we have the best food. Oh, in Argentina, no. In Argentina, we do things better. And to be honest, and we start and we go, you know. So it's very important that you can appreciate the things that God give you from the place that you come from, but it's very important that you can admire the things that God put in other places, in other cultures, in other countries, in other languages. So here, no one is better than anyone, and we are full of richness. So every time that I see a person that is from another culture, another background, another language, I see that person and I'm like, wow, I need that, because God put something special in that culture, in that nation, in that, like they have food that I don't have, and that I never tried, and that I'm not used to as well. And God put dreams and put things from his heart in that country, in that culture, in that language. So it's very important that you can not just admire the other person, but as well admire everything that comes with that person, you know? And don't put yourself on top of the rest of the people. Sometimes you don't realize, but you can sound very arrogant or very with a feeling of superiority. And it's, or for example, if you grew up in a Christian family, like you already know everything, you know, like you know the Bible, you know what it is to be a Christian. You don't need anyone to teach you because you already have everything that you need, and you know better, you know. So it's very important that you can humble yourself every day, every morning, and you can like try to understand other people's mentality, other people's way. You know, this is something that I start practicing, being out of my culture, my country, and then when you start admiring, you start getting to absorb the thing that God put in North America, in South America, in Europe, in Africa. When you are a missionary, you will be surrounded by people from every culture, every country, every color, every background, you know? And you can see that as something heavy and like, oh, why I have to eat this food? Why I have to speak in English? Why I have to, I don't know, be in a country that, I don't know, in the winter is cold, or for example, something that I fought with God. Why I have to be in England? That is, the people are more closed. They are not very open. It's so hard to interact with people, and it's very easy to see the negative things. You know what you don't like. That's the first thing that the enemy put in your head. Oh, I don't like how is this person. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't, you know. And it's very important that you ask God to help you to don't be pessimistic, to not be negative, and to get to learn, not just from your disciple and the people around you, but what the other people have in their life, their experience. When I hear the experience of others, I say, God, what I can learn from that person. I remember when I met my husband, he came from a totally different background than I do. And I saw him so passionate for God. And I grew up in a Christian family, missionary. And I was like, God, I need that passion. I need that excitement. I love what this culture has that is so alive. I need that. So if you keep yourself humble and not comparing and looking to admire what God put in other people and in other cultures, you absorb everything that God put. You become like a vacuum. And you just have to differentiate what is from God and what is not from God. And then you start creating in your life God kingdom culture. Yeah? And that's why we have to point. In order to be a follower of Christ, you have to create a kingdom culture in your life. Yes? And that takes time, that takes commitment, that takes humbleness of heart. You have to be very flexible, very open. You have to be teachable. That's very, very important. So I would like if you guys can read the last verses that I give before we finish. Luke 9:23. Who would like to read that verse?
I can do
I
it.
will. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You want? No? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Then he said to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me.
Amen. So clear, huh? when you hear the word deny yourself, that like is just a word, deny yourself, 3 words, sorry. It's like going against our flesh, you know? It's easy to read, but then to live it, guys, wow, it's another thing. Like when God called me here, I say no out loud. And sometimes we are not willing to deny ourselves, deny our thoughts, our own will. Are you willing to die to your will to follow Christ? Even if you take your life, even if you don't understand. Are you willing to deny yourself and follow Him? Whew, I think we have to make that question quite often. Are you willing to deny? Okay, this is for me. I'm willing to deny myself and teach you today. I didn't want to teach you today. Not because of you, because of me. Because it's not something that is easy for me to do. So I'm willing to teach you because I deny to follow God and to serve Him. And sometimes it costs you. Maybe for you, doesn't cost you what is hard for me. But sometimes God will ask you something that is hard for you. And sometimes we are not willing, you know. If you keep willing, if you keep giving up, if you keep renouncing to your rights, God will use you like in crazy ways. But you just have to be willing. Yeah. The next one, Luke 14, 25 to 26. Someone?
You said Luke 14, 25 to 26?
Luke 14, 25 to 26.
Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple."
Wow. So strong, huh? I hope that my kid doesn't hate me. Yeah. Like the thing that you love the most, sometimes you have to give it to God and say, God, if it costs me my family, my life, even my own desires, that sometimes don't align with God's heart. It's very important that my desires align with God's heart. Yeah, it's not that God is a bad, like, it's not that God is bad with us and He will ask you everything that you don't want. No, but sometimes what is in His heart doesn't align with what is in my heart. And that's what we have to find. And the other thing is the time. Because I remember our disciples, when God spoke to us to come to the UK, we knew that was from God. And our disciples said, yes, we agree that it's from God, but we don't think that is the time. And we didn't want to hear that. So we start packing. And on the way there, we lose almost 3 years on the waiting. And we went to Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico, we couldn't leave the UK. So we were in the middle of the Jordan, waiting for 2 years and 9 months, because we didn't want to hear when we were in Argentina that our disciples said, yes, but it's not the time. We heard the yes, but we didn't want to hear that it's not the time. So it's very important that when your disciples say something to you, you don't take what you like and just leave what you don't like. It's very important that you take all of it, even what you don't agree or you don't want to hear. Yeah. And as well, we learn from our mistakes. And God used that time, that desert, that time in the Jordan, when you have water to hear, to work in your heart, to prepare you for what is coming, to equip you. And sometimes you think that the time that God will equip you the most is when things are actually good and you are receiving and things are going great. And normally the time that God actually work deeper in your life and do the most in your life is actually in those deserts, in the time that we don't know where is God, when things are not going how I thought that they should go. In those times is when God actually teaches in our character, working in every area in our life. So don't underestimate those times of desert. Or if you find yourself that you are now like struggling, or it's not easy, the circumstance that you are living, or it's not what you expect, ask God, God, what do you want me to teach through these things? Yeah? Maybe He wants to teach you patience. Maybe He wants to teach you to be more vulnerable and open yourself. Maybe He wants to teach you humbleness. Maybe He wants to clean your mind and start something new, a new life, a new you in Him. Like ask God, God, what do you want me to teach through this time? And ask and check as well, is this a time of desert? Is this a time that I need to renew my trust in God? Is this a time that I'm not seeing God or I'm not hearing Him? God, what you're trying to teach me, how I can put in practice the thing that you are teaching me in this time, how I can open my eyes, how I can allow others to come in, how I can trust others, how I can recognize and love and build something that as well I say every time, that when you are being discipled, the discipler is not the one that comes to you. You are the one that go to your discipler. You are the one that pursue that person, the one that look to imitate, the one that take the action. You are the one that ask the question. You are the one that receive the question or receive the input or just say, hey, how do you see myself? Is anything that you see that maybe I don't see? But to make that question, you have to become yourself vulnerable in front of that person, even if it's hard for you. And you can be honest and say, hey, you know what? It's very hard for me to be vulnerable because I never did this before. Or you can say like, I don't know you pretty much. And this is, for example, when you have a son or a daughter, when they give you the baby, I remember when they give me Gimel or Melody, my kids, and I saw the baby and I said like, okay, this is my son. Sure, I have to love it, but I don't know him. But I know that it's my son, so I should love him. But I don't know him. I just met him. So you build, you get to know. I got to live with my son day by day, see what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he enjoys, what he doesn't enjoy, what he struggles, what he's good. And that's what you have to do as well with your discipler. You have to know that, get to know that person. Oh, but I don't know that person. You cannot say that from the first day. That's your homework. You know, you have to like walk the other mile. You don't have to wait sitting and be like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know if I trust that person. But in life, everything is a decision. You have to push yourself and say like, okay, this is good for me. I want to receive it. I want to depend. I want to get to know that person. I want to relate. I want to spend time. I want that person to become my friend. Like Jesus did with the disciples. They were his friends. They were walking together. They were learning through the teaching that God was giving to them as they was walking together. So it's very important that you can take care of your heart and recognize that person and become yourself vulnerable and deny yourself to follow Christ. As the person that you follow is following God, he imitate or she imitate him, and you get to imitate that person as well. Yeah? Are we here still? No one have any other question?
Sorry for being annoying, but I do.
I love questions.
Okay, good. Mine's maybe a silly one. It's something I don't think I understood or don't agree with, is that we have to admire every culture, you said. I don't know exactly what you mean, I think, because I don't think I have to admire every culture. I do understand that every culture has something good. Or something that God put in it, but not the whole culture. The Muslim culture, they're sexist. I still admire their commitment, for example. I find it really hard to do, even though I believe in God and I trust in God. Their commitment is incredible. But I don't think I have to admire their culture because they have something good. Does that?
Yeah. What I mean with that, that's what I said. I clarify after that, is that every culture has something that is from God and something that is from human heart. Okay?
Yeah.
So, for example, in my own culture, my culture is very proud. Okay? So that is not from God. And I can tell you that. But as well, I can tell you that my culture is very honest and open to hear others and to receive from others. My culture is a very open culture and dependent, when maybe the British culture is not very open and dependent. So every culture has things from God and things that are not from God. But when I mean to admire, is to admire what God planned in each culture.
Okay, yeah. That's
and the richness that He put in each culture and in each nation. And with that, we create God kingdom culture. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very important that, like, in order to love someone that is not from your country, your culture, in order to love, you have to admire what God planned in that person. You cannot love that person if you don't learn to admire what God planned in that culture and in that person.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other question? I'm sure that you will get more revelation when you read your notes, and as well, I'm sure that God will put even more than I'm talking to you in your heart during your time when you get to ask this question to God upon your own life. So stay alert, stay open, stay focused, who you're focusing on, knowing your own ideas, and put God in the center of your life. And remember that it's your decision if you want to follow Him or if you want to follow yourself.
Thank you so much, Joey. It was really nice to hear from each of the screens. Just if you have anything that stuck with you or a comment that impacted you. And for the ones in the Facebook, just introduce yourself so Joey can put a name and a face to everyone.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm from Maryland and I'm doing the photography track. I really appreciated when you said it's really important for us to be open, just so that people can share with us, that they could invest in us and not to be independent. But also the question where you said that you have to ask God what he's trying to teach you during that time. I thought that was really important as well, because like I'm here in the States when I'm supposed to be over there. So I'm asking God every day, like, what are you teaching me while I'm still here in my hometown? Like I'm tired of being here. So I thought that's really important. But you just, every time you said like, follow him, like deny who you are to follow him. Like that's a really good reminder, because I feel like there's something there that he's just been like, this is what you have to surrender to me. And so thank you so much for like those really good reminders.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
I'll go next. My name is Sadie. I'm from Kansas in the United States, and I'm doing the theater and the music track. I think for me, one of my biggest questions, and I think the thing that I'm struggling with the most is, like you said, with more discernment comes more responsibility, and kind of your own personal testimony of being like, oh, you know, you're supposed to go to the UK, but you had to like wait 3 years for it. And how you initially were like, okay, we're just going to go. And then it was like, that's not the right time. How do you know when it's like, when God is trying to teach you patience versus you just not answering what he's saying? Because like, what's the difference between, like you said, like he told you to go and you went, but it wasn't the right time. So how do you know when it's like you in your own fleshly desires just bypassing his timing, and when do you know when it's him, like when you're not listening to him telling you to go, if that makes sense?
Sometimes it's very hard to understand God's mind, because sometimes you don't know why he made things in another time that you think that should be. As I said before, we will never understand everything. We have to start from there. So knowing that we'll never understand everything, it's very important that you keep yourself alert. And then when you feel like, okay, I think this is the time, and maybe someone give you a word or something happened, and things, I remember like when I had my second daughter, and I remember my mom said to me, Johanna, maybe this is the time. And I was like, I don't know, I don't think so, because I tried everything and it didn't work. And then, okay, we are going to try another time. And let's see, maybe this is the time. So when I said that, and I start to do every step, everything starts to happen, like tack, 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 like faster that I can actually do in a human way. So then I started being like, okay, then this is the time, you know? And things start to work in our favor, in our good, and everything starts to be like opening up very fast. When the other times, everything was like very slow and very like impossible. So it's very important that you stay steady, because sometimes when things doesn't work in our time, we give up. And when you give up, you just like drop off, you know? It's like you leave the bus. You don't want to keep there waiting in the bus till the bus start going again. So it's very important that you stay sitting in the bus and alert, you know, looking, got anything, any signal or anything that you are trying to show me, is this the time? And then when it's the time, things are going to start happening out of your control, out of what is in a human way, and things are going to start working, and then you are going to realize, oh, this is the time. But the most important that in between those times, you don't give up, you don't drop off, you don't just how do you say, like when you skip, no, like you don't leave it halfway, you know, you don't, when sometimes things will not look helpful, will not look like good, that it will like what is coming, I know it's going to happen or not. Okay, I think it's happening. Okay, I will stay here. Sometimes you will not see anything, you know? Everything is blurring in front of you, but you are still persevering. You are still there, firm, you know? And you know when it's the time, God will open the door, God will make the way. But if you drop off, if you leave the bus, you will never come out.
Right.
So what you prefer? To stay there waiting till the time come and then you get in, or you can drop off and never know when was the time, you know? At that point, I can go back, like when that happened, I can go back to Argentina, and instead of waiting, I can go back to Argentina and just continue what I was doing. And that was not from God. It's not from, like, we cannot go back. You know, we cannot drop off. We have to stay there waiting. Even if you doubt, you have to ask God to take all those doubts and keep faithful and keep persevering and keep till the end. Even when you don't see it, even when you doubt, even you can doubt of yourself, of what God talked to you. I doubt of what God spoke to us. And I said, after 2 failures, and then the third one, I said, okay, I'm going to try again. Maybe this is the time, after 3 years. And I think it's not going to be the same for you guys. For us, it was very different because the visa system was worse than now. Now it's very simple. And I said, okay, I'm going to try again. And then when I try again, everything started opening up. And I'm here for the last 11 years. So yeah, when it's the right time, nothing can stop you.
So yeah, I'm Julian. I'm come from France, and I'm in the music track. So something that I like you said. Sometimes when God calls you, you just feel not capable, and it's just to humble yourself. And yeah, and the more you feel incapable, the more he's gonna use you. And just to come here, it's a big challenge for me. So it was a big challenge for me. So yeah, it's I feel I thought that I was humble enough, but no. And God has always to help me to humble myself. So yeah, it was something that I needed to hear.
Something that that happened to me when I came to the UK. I always ask God, why you choose me? This is a question that I always ask. I said, like, wow, your mathematics are so different than the human mathematics, you know? I said, why you didn't call a British person or someone that understand how things move here, the laws and the accent and many other things. But God's ways are not our ways, definitely. And something that happened to me, I remember the first meeting that I was when I came to the UK. I was with a group of ladies, and they were all speaking the things from their heart, sharing all the feelings and stuff. And I was looking at them, and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, because I didn't understand English. I didn't speak English. I understood a little bit. And then you start questioning God. After I paused for 3 years, I made it to the place that you want me to be. And I don't know what these people is talking. And I want to give. I want to serve you. I want to do. And I don't know how. So sometimes you will find yourself that you don't have what it takes in order to go to God and ask God to help you. And sometimes we don't want God to help us. We want to do it ourselves. We don't want anyone to help us or telling us how to do it. We don't want to ask for help. We don't want to, I didn't want to talk in English because I didn't want to commit mistakes because of my pride and my perfectionism. So this is my example, but maybe you will have other examples. So when you found that you don't have everything that it takes to be, for example, a photographer, he will do that in order for you to ask for help, in order for you to receive from someone else, and recognize the potential that is in others, and keep yourself teachable. And that's the only way.
I have another question. So what if I don't feel incapable of doing something? Because if in my head, if God told me to do something, it's because I can do it, even though I don't see it possible at the moment. Or I just trust God and don't overthink it, just go. Is that good or bad? Is that a pride thing? If I'm too proud or something?
The problem when you think, you start arguing with God. Okay? So when God chose me to do something, I cannot argue with God and say, like, yes, of course, my first thought is why me? Like, it's so many others that are better than me. But right away, I answered to myself, and I said to myself, I speak to myself, and I say, he chose me, he knows that he needs something that I have, that maybe these people need, but I don't know what it is, but he knows. So sometimes when that argumentation comes, I have to talk to myself and shout my own mouth or my own head, and the things that as well, my human reason, you know, it's very important that I can like follow God and not start arguing with God. Say, God, even if I don't see myself doing that, but if you want me to do it, I'm going to do it. But I cannot hesitate. This is what we talked at the beginning. You know, I cannot be like, oh, I don't know, let me see, maybe someone else, why not her or why not him, you know? It's very important that God can find yourself available. Yeah, you are always online, you know? It's like when you see the green button on the side, you always have to be in green for God, okay? Always available. Doesn't matter if you have a rough season, doesn't matter if you don't have what it takes, doesn't matter. Sometimes God will use you in your hardest moment. Sometimes God will use you even if you think like, God, but I'm not doing well. God, I'm not actually having my quiet time or having my time with God. And why you still want to use me to speak to this person? You know, and that's not how God works. That's not how he see us, you know. So I remember like once I was on an outreach in Scotland, and my father-in-law that is not Christian, he sent us a word from God, and it was actually from God. It was amazing. It's what I needed to hear. And I said, God, why? Why you use him? He's not even a Christian, but he's not looking for people that have everything that it takes, that are perfect, that are serving him. He's looking for people that are willing, that are online, that are in green, with the green button 24/7.
So not being scared or is not a bad thing, right? That's what you're trying to say? Because if God told me tomorrow to go somewhere, I would go. I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't understand why.
It's very important that you don't move alone, because that is it's like a protection. Yeah, it's like a shield. So you don't move by yourself. You don't move alone. You have, like, maybe not everyone will agree with you, but the people that God put next to you, they are working with you and they are for you. And then you feel protected. You don't feel like you are doing this alone. And that will give you the security that you need. Of course, you can have some like uncertainty or I don't know if it's fears, but like, okay, I don't know how it's going to look like, but you take the decision to follow God. You take the decision to obey him, doesn't matter what. and you leave all those feelings behind, because those feelings don't come from God, come from my flesh, from my humanity. Yeah. We have to finish. Anyone else? Or
Are we just like saying our names and what track we're doing and like something that stood out to us?
yeah.
Okay. My camera's not working right now, so if that's why you can't see me. Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But so I'm Audrey. I am doing the visual arts and music track. I'm 18. And something that you said that really stood out to me was that not only do you have to teach others, but you also have to make sure that you let yourself be taught and keep yourself teachable. And like you said, even when you're like 70 years old, there are still things that you may not know, things that you can be taught. So it's good to kind of keep yourself open to being taught. And for me, it's kind of like the other way around. Like I'm fine being like having other people teach me things, but when it comes to me teaching people, that's like something that really freaks me out. And I think I need to really kind of let God use me in the ways that he wants to, because I have social anxiety, and it is so hard for me to just start conversations with people. So that's really something that I need to kind of let God work with me in. But yeah, that's something that stood out to me today.
I understand you completely. I was afraid of people when I was very young or a kid, and I was even afraid, just very introvert. It's a mix of things. Sometimes it's our pride, and sometimes we feel insecure or we don't feel capable enough. So sometimes it's a mix of those things. And let me tell you that as you keep denying yourself and allowing God to use you, even from your weak areas, you will grow, and you will, like, these things that you found that are hard for you, they will still be maybe hard, like they're still hard for me, but I noticed that I'm getting better in this. But the only way to get better is to deny yourself and sacrifice yourself and try to do it, even if you don't see yourself that you are capable or that you're good or that it's easy for you.
Yeah.
So stretching yourself, that's the only way to grow.
All right. Thank you.
Pleasure. Yes?
Anyone else? Anyone else? We could.
Hi, sorry, I'm in the same boat as Audrey. My camera's being all weird. My name is Lyndon. I'm from California, and I'm in the music and theater track, same as Sadie. I think like one thing that kind of stood out to me, definitely because it's something I have to work on, is like trust and vulnerability with people. Like it's something I struggle with. Like it takes a little while for me to open up. So when you're talking about that, I think that just really stood out to me because that's what I kind of have to work on.
You can as well allow others to help you, because for me it's so hard to help myself many times, because sometimes we don't know how. So I know that it's hard for you to trust others, but I think asking for help, even in something very superficial, like not really important, it helps you to like start trusting bit by bit in other people as you get to know them, as you get to live things with them, and as well you don't put pressure in that. Like, of course, that's something that is like a plant. The plant cannot grow in one day. You know, you have to keep pouring water, and it's bit by bit, and that's how you invest in relationship with others and invest in trust, um, and in love as well. So I'm sure that the people that if you open yourself and you allow others to put input in you, your trust will grow. I know that can be hard, but it's possible. And you have to believe that it's possible, because if you don't believe in what God put in others and in yourself, it's impossible to grow in trust. So it's very important that you can, as you decide to trust, because it's a decision, you can allow others in bit by bit in your own life, and be willing to ask for help and ask God to help you. God, I want to grow in my trust. And if you do those prayers, and you take the decision in your heart, bit by bit, you will start doing it. And you will find yourself trusting more.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
I guess I could go too. I'm Annabelle. I'm from Texas, the United States, and I'm doing the photography track, same as Natalie. And one thing that you were saying was how we kind of have this false idea that when we become adults, we have to almost separate ourselves and be independent and try our best to like not really rely on people and try to figure out everything by ourselves. But that's not what God intended for us. And I'm really starting to have to realize that now that I'm finally like getting to the stage of like moving out and being able to like really rely on people and not like have to know everything right away, because that is a big source of anxiety for me, is moving out and being an adult and adulting and everything.
Mm-hmm.
God really does put people in our life. He puts disciplers and mentors and people to walk with us and keep us accountable and follow Jesus with them. And we don't have to walk alone. And like you said, we don't have to be a lone wolf. And that's really comforting to know that. And ever since I was little, I've always learned things like the hard way. Every time I would have to fall on my face in order to really like learn anything, because I didn't want to receive help. I didn't want to be taught. I didn't want to have to accept the fact that I did need someone to teach me something. So this whole reminder of allowing yourself that maybe you don't know everything, maybe you do need help, and really be taught really speaks to me. You have to really let people teach you, to give you a new perspective on things. And above all, you have to really open your heart to God and let him teach you and allow him to come into your life. Because when you rely on him, he will guide you so closely, and you don't have to have any anxiety or worry. He'll show you that like what you need to see, the people that you need in your life to help you, walk with you. And you really just need to rely and trust and be teachable.
Thank you. And do you have any question with that, or it's fine?
I guess, yeah, just how to like trust him more, but it's like, yeah, it was just kind of more of a statement, but yeah.
Yeah, I think what you said at the beginning about like when you become an adult, that you should not be independent, the other way around. As I said at the beginning, like as more older I am and more knowledge I have, more responsibility I have, but as well I need more from God and from people around me and my disciples. So it's very important that we understand this, that is as more you know, more responsibility you have, and as older you are, more things you are doing for God, more you need from others. Like that's why we are a body. Like as a church, we are a body, the body of Christ, and we need each part. Every part is important. So it's very important that we can depend on each other. And I think that's resuming what you said. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joey. Always
Sure. My battery is going to die. Yes. Thank you so much. Now Perry is going to share more the Bible part of this topic. She's the queen in this. So she's my disciple. She's better than I am. You will see she have a lot to give to you as well. Love you guys, even if I still didn't meet many of you. It's so nice to get to see your faces, get to know you a little bit, get to hear from your heart. So yeah, and we are looking forward to have you here in London. London is waiting for you. London have open arms. We would love to get to see you soon here. So get ready. Love you guys.
love you.
Bless you.
We'll come back
See you
in.
soon.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
It's oops.
10 to 4.
10 to 4. So we'll take a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back at 4:05 for the second part of teaching with Perry. So, see you guys soon.